I'm in Chicago and I have visited the site of the H.H. Holmes Murder Castle. One thing I was always trying to find was, where did he live when he lived here in Chicago? Well, I did a lot more research and I found the apartment that H.H. Holmes lived at. And I will show you all of that, and I will also include Murder Castle. So let me tell you a little bit about Herman Webster Mudgett. But of course, you know him as H.H. Holmes. He was a notorious serial killer. He was a con artist, multiple murderer, and he was active between 1891 and 1894. He was executed in 1896. His time in Chicago is what is really interesting. He arrived in Chicago in August of 1886, and after he arrived in Chicago, he came across a drugstore at the northwest corner of South Wallace and West 63rd. Now they gave him a job, and he purchased an empty lot across the street where construction began on a 2-story mixed-use building. That became the Murder Castle. He killed multiple people in that Murder Castle. He basically built the hotel to lure tourists to it. When he moved to Chicago, got that job at that pharmacy, and then built the Murder Castle across the street, he lived in another area of Chicago where he rented an apartment. It's right behind me. 1140 there.
Now, on June 1st, 1893, H.H. Holmes and Minnie Williams, acting as husband and wife, move into an apartment right here on the top floor on this site. Now, it was originally 1220. The addresses on this section of the street were renumbered, and as I had mentioned earlier, this is now 1140. Now, Holmes had met Minnie Williams in New York, but they met again in Chicago, and he offered her a job as his personal stenographer. Now, the two lived together as husband and wife, according to newspaper accounts from that time. Now, he ended up killing Minnie and her sister Anna, but it was right here on this site, far across Chicago from the Murder Castle where I will take you, that he lived with Minnie as husband and wife. And imagine how many times Holmes would have come and gone from this site and the building that was here at the time. It's crazy to think of how much history was on this site. Alrighty guys, let's go over and visit the site of the infamous H.H. Holmes Murder Castle. Let me tell you more about the Murder Castle, what happened there, when it was built, and the trap doors inside. Right there, do you see it? Yeah, that's where the Murder Castle was. As I had told you earlier, guys, Herman Webster Mudgett, H.H. Holmes, arrived in Chicago in August of 1886. Now, shortly after getting a job and buying the store across the street, which I will show you, Holmes purchased an empty lot, and construction began in 1887 on what was to be the Murder Castle. Now, in 1892, he added a 3rd floor, telling investors that he intended to use it as a hotel for the upcoming World's Columbian Exhibition. Alrighty, so he was building the Murder Castle, and I said I would show you where he worked. Well, it was right here. See this piece of property right here where this Aldi is? There was a pharmacy here, and it was here where he got his first job in Chicago. Bought this piece of property across the street and started building the Murder Castle. So even though the building is gone, they say the basement is haunted, and there's still a tunnel that leads to where the post office is. Okay, something cool I want to show you guys. Look at that train bridge behind. Now that train bridge was always there. It was there when the Murder Castle was there. You can match it up in the photos. There's the train bridge, and there's the train bridge behind where the Murder Castle was. It's so interesting to think that it all happened right there, and you can match it up right with where the Murder Castle was in front of us, and right with that train bridge that's in all the photos. It's just so crazy to see that. Now, this site in front of you is easily the most infamous site of H.H. Holmes and one of the most infamous sites of any serial killer in modern history. When investigators finally went through the murder castle, they were shocked by what they saw. There were trap doors, hidden tunnels, doors that only opened from the outside so people would be locked in. It was surreal.
The murder castle was in Chicago's Englewood neighborhood. It had trapdoors, mazes of hallways, and staircases that led nowhere. Inside, Holmes tortured and mutilated people.
And the estimated number of people that he killed is up to 200, but he confessed to only 27. Alrighty, so let me tell you what happened on this site to the murder castle after Holmes was arrested. See, the fate of the actual castle is shrouded in intrigue. Now, once Holmes is in prison, the murder castle is gutted by a fire after witnesses saw two men entering the building late one night. Now, the building itself actually remained standing until 1938, when it was torn down. And it's right there in front of you, that grassy knoll, and is now occupied by the post office. Alrighty, let's go across the street and get a closer look. Alrighty, we're on this side of the street now, and right here, beside the post office, is the site. Stood right here. I'm literally standing at the front entrance of where the murder castle was. It all happened here. He worked right across the street at a pharmacy when he got his first job in Chicago. This is where it stood, on this piece of property, and you can match it up with the bridge in the background. So let's see if we can match it up. I'm standing in front of it now, and right up there you see the bridge behind me. In the pictures, you can match up that structure with where the murder castle was. I'm standing right where the murder castle was in Chicago. Pretty surreal. Just think what happened here.
Alrighty guys, I'm glad I got to show you the H.H. Holmes apartment where he lived in Chicago, as well as the murder castle, where it stood, and talk a little bit about it.